The signs were clear, but she refused to overthink it. She'd done nothing wrong. She had just done her job. So why did the pit in her stomach grow heavier as she parked outside the diner the next morning? The air was crisp, the sun barely rising as she grabbed her apron and slung it over her shoulder. A few cars were already in the lot, including Mark's. She steeled herself. This was just another shift. It had to be. But when she walked in, everything felt wrong. Emma wasn't leaning against the counter like usual. Alex wasn't joking with the kitchen crew. Instead, both of them were staring at her with strange, calculating looks. Their silence spoke volumes. Then Mark's office door creaked open. Mark stood there, watching her. "Sophia," he said flatly, "come with me." A cold pit settled in her stomach. She followed him into the cramped office, her heart pounding. He didn't waste any time. "We're letting you go," he said, his voice like ice. Sophia blinked, trying to comprehend what she had just heard. "What? You're firing me?" Mark didn't flinch. "It's not working out." Her voice faltered. "Not working out? I've been here almost 3 years. I've never missed a shift, never been late." Mark exhaled slowly, as if tired of the conversation. "It's a decision we've made." Her throat tightened. "This is because of last night, isn't it?" Mark didn't confirm, but his silence was answer enough. "So I get fired for doing my job?" she asked, her voice shaking with anger. Mark barely looked at her. "You can collect your final paycheck next week." That was it. No explanation. No reason. Just out. Sophia clenched her fists. She wanted to argue, to demand fairness, but she knew there was no point. She untied her apron and set it on the chair as she turned to leave. At the door she hesitated, forcing herself to look back at Mark. "You know this isn't right." Mark didn't flinch. Sophia shook her head and walked out. Emma was still standing by the counter, a smug look on her face. Alex, pretending to wipe down a table, didn't even try to hide a satisfaction. They'd been waiting for this moment, and Sophia knew it. She wanted to say something. She wanted to shout, to demand an explanation. But instead, she held her head high and walked past them without a word, pushing through the doors into the cold morning air. For the first time in 3 years, she had no job, no paycheck, and no backup plan. Her phone buzzed as she sat in her car, staring blankly at the steering wheel. The unknown number caught her attention. Hesitant, she picked it up. "Hello?" "Sophia, this is Daniel Carter," a deep voice said. She froze. "Who?" "The man you served last night at Sunrise Diner." Her heart skipped a beat. "Oh, yes, sir. How can I help you?" "I heard what happened," Daniel said, his tone steady. "I guess I should have just ignored you like everyone else." "That's exactly why I'm calling," Daniel said. Her grip tightened on the phone. "I don't understand." "I wasn't just there for dinner last night. I was there to see how my employees treat people." Sophia blinked, stunned. "Your employees?" "I own Sunrise Diner," Daniel said simply. Sophia's mind raced. "You own this place?" "Yes," Daniel replied. "I make it a habit to visit my restaurants unannounced to see how they're really run." Sophia's heart pounded in her chest. "And what did you learn?" "I learned I have a serious problem with my staff." Sophia laughed without humor. "Yeah, no kidding." After a long pause, Daniel spoke again. "How long have you worked there?" "Almost 3 years." 3 years, and I see what happened. I'm calling because I know exactly who I can trust." Sophia's pulse raced. "And what does that mean for me?" Daniel's tone shifted. "I need someone I can trust, someone who understands fairness and respect. I want you to come back as the new manager." Her breath caught. What? Mark's gone. Effective. Immediately. Sophia was speechless. Wait. What? Daniel continued. You're the one I want. You understand what it means to treat people right. I need someone who can turn things around. Her heart was racing. She had just been fired, but now she was being offered the very position of the man who fired her. Do you want it? Sophia sat frozen, her mind whirling. Could she do it? Could she actually change everything? I'll do it, she said finally, her voice steady. Good. Be here tomorrow at 8. As she hung up, her world shifted. Less than 24 hours ago she had nothing. Now she had power, and she was going to use it. The next day she stood outside Sunrise Diner, gripping her bag. The cold morning air didn't even faze her. She had spent the night thinking. Yesterday she had nothing. Today she was walking in as the boss. Sophia inhaled deeply, squared her shoulders, and walked in. The scent of coffee and bacon filled the air, but today it was different. Today she had authority. Emma froze when she saw her, followed by Alex, whose mouth snapped shut. The moment stretched long enough for them to squirm before she walked toward the counter. This is awkward, she said lightly. Scoff! What are you doing here? Sophia met her gaze. You'll find out soon. Before Emma could respond, the door to the back opened and Mark appeared. He saw her and his body went rigid. You don't work here anymore, he said. Sophia smiled coldly. Actually, I do. Before Mark could respond, Daniel stepped in, his presence commanding. I believe I can clarify that. Every head turned. Effective immediately, Mark is terminated. The room went silent. Emma gasped. Alex froze. Mark's face turned red, but there was nothing he could do. Daniel turned to Sophia. Sophia is your new manager. Sophia felt the weight of the moment settle on her shoulders. This was her time. She wasn't here to make friends. She was here to change everything.
She had no idea that a simple act of kindness would unravel everything. Sophia had just served a man who she thought was just another diner guest. But as their eyes met, a strange weight settled in the air between them. What was it? Was he really just a customer? Or was there something much bigger at play? And when the truth finally came out, it was more than she ever expected. Where are you watching from? Don't forget to like, subscribe, and stay tuned for more exciting stories. Sophia wasn't the type to stir the pot. She believed in hard work, doing her job, and treating others with kindness. Raised on simple values, she had learned to keep her head down, stay out of trouble, and never cause waves. Sunrise Diner had been her second home for almost 3 years. It wasn't glamorous, nestled between a gas station and a laundromat in East Springfield, but it was where she spent most of her days. The customers came from all walks of life, truckers stopping for coffee, families sharing a quiet breakfast, and workers grabbing a quick bite. The hours were long, and the pay barely covered her bills, but it was enough to keep a roof over her head and help her younger brother Liam get through college. She never told him how much she covered for him, his textbooks, groceries, but she did it because he was family. It was why she took double shifts, why she ignored the disrespect from customers and coworkers alike. She knew the way things worked in the diner. The well-dressed businessman received smiles and chatter, while the man in a stained uniform was rushed through his meal with no conversation. She hated it, but she kept quiet. After all, that's how it always went. A few months ago, when she'd called out a coworker for letting a table wait too long while she scrolled through her phone, Emma had shot her down with a cold stare and a sharp remark. You don't get paid extra for being a saint. Sophia learned then that silence was safer, that standing up was a one-way ticket to being disliked, ignored, and pushed aside. She kept her head down and did her job. But that night, everything changed. It was a quiet Wednesday. The dinner rush had come and gone, and Sophia found herself at the counter, refilling the sugar dispensers. The bell above the door jingled. A man walked in, dressed simply in clean slacks and a button-up shirt. There was nothing extraordinary about his appearance, but there was something about the way he carried himself, a quiet confidence that made her pause. He scanned the room as though looking for something. It wasn't unusual for customers to be picky about where they sat, but this man lingered for longer than most. Emma and Alex didn't even look up when he entered. Emma, leaning against the counter, was too busy scrolling through her phone. Alex, who had been joking with another server near the drinks station, made brief eye contact with the man before turning back to his conversation. No greeting, no smile, just a silence that was thick with disregard. Sophia noticed the moment. She felt the uncomfortable weight of it. This wasn't an accident. Her coworkers had made a choice not to acknowledge him. She considered letting it go, staying out of the way like always. But then she glanced at the man again. He stood there, waiting, not impatiently, but patiently, as though he was giving them the chance to prove him wrong, just once. And so she made her decision. She wiped her hands on a napkin, grabbed a menu, and walked toward him. "Good evening, sir," she said, her voice warm but casual. "Just you tonight?" The man met her gaze, and something softened in his eyes. "Yes, ma'am," he replied. Sophia smiled, motioning toward a booth near the window. "Follow me. Is the booth okay?" "Perfectly fine," he said as he settled into the booth. She handed him the menu, pulling a pen from behind her ear. "Can I start you off with something to drink?" "Coffee," he said. "Black." "Coming right up," she replied, moving quickly to pour a fresh cup. As she worked, she could feel Emma's eyes boring into her back, could feel Alex's glances, but she didn't turn around. She set the coffee down in front of the man, feeling the tension in the air. He glanced around the diner, then back at her. "You're the only one working tonight?" he asked, his voice low enough for only her to hear. She knew what he meant. She flicked a glance at Emma and Alex, who were whispering, smirking. "Feels like it sometimes," she said, trying to keep her tone light. The man chuckled, and for the first time that evening, she felt a warmth in the interaction. He flipped open the menu. "What's good here?" he asked. Sophia tilted her head, thinking. "Depends on what you're in the mood for. If you want something solid, the pot roast is fresh. But if you want my personal favorite, the grilled salmon is the way to go." He raised an eyebrow. "Is that so?" "Promise you won't regret it," she said with a grin. "Salmon it is," he replied, marking his choice on the menu. Sophia jotted it down, walking back to the kitchen. As she placed the order, she could feel the change in the air. It wasn't obvious, but it was there. The way Emma's eyes narrowed, the way Alex kept glancing toward the booth, waiting for Sophia to slip up. Even Mark, the manager, had peeked out from his office, scanning the room, before disappearing again. The sinking feeling in her stomach told her that she had just put a target on her back. But she wouldn't know how bad it was until the next morning. The night passed in a blur. Sophia barely slept, troubled by the way Emma had muttered under her breath, the way Alex's smirk had been so smug, the way Mark had looked at her.